Lisa Morgan never expected to find an alien in her cargo hold, especially not one with violet scales and a tail that seemed to have a mind of its own. The alien was curled up behind a stack of supply crates, looking more terrified than threatening. Despite her razor-sharp claws and iridescent eyes that reflected the dim light of the hold, it had been 3 weeks since Lisa left Earth Colony Outpost Delta 9, her small transport vessel. The Starlight Wanderer was on a routine supply run to the Outer Rim settlements, nothing exciting, just honest work that paid the bills and gave her the freedom of the stars she craved since childhood. The alien watched Lisa cautiously as she approached slowly, with palms raised in what she hoped was a universal gesture of peace. The creature was clearly female, with delicate features beneath the scales and a slender frame wrapped in what appeared to be some kind of ceremonial garment. "Hey there," Lisa whispered. "No need to be scared, I'm not gonna hurt you." Alien made a soft trilling sound, her tail twitching nervously against the metal floor. "How did you get on my ship?" Lisa asked, not really expecting an answer. To her surprise, the alien responded in broken English words clearly difficult with her different mouth structure but understandable. "Escape," she trilled. "Slave traders take from home want freedom." Lisa felt a cold anger rise in her chest. Slave traders were the scum of the universe, operating in the lawless zones between established territories, preying on vulnerable species, particularly those new to galactic society. "You escaped from slavers?" Lisa asked, kneeling down to appear less threatening. The alien nodded her scaled head, a very human gesture that suggested she had been around humans, before her eyes large and luminous in the darkness. "Well, you're safe now," Lisa said, making a quick decision that she hoped wouldn't come back to bite her. "Literally. Nobody is going to hurt you on my ship." The alien seemed to relax slightly, her tail stilling. "What's your name?" Lisa asked. The response was a series of clicks, whistles, and trills completely unpronounceable to human vocal cords. Lisa scratched her head. "That's going to be tough for me to say. How about I call you Violet because of your scales?" The alien tilted her head, considering, then her mouth curved in what might have been a smile, showing small pointed teeth. She nodded again. "Okay, Violet." "It is," Lisa said, standing slowly. "I better get back to the bridge, but you're welcome to come with me, instead of hiding down here." Violet hesitated, then stood, revealing her full height, which was slightly taller than Lisa. Her movements were graceful, fluid like water, as she followed Lisa through the narrow corridors of the ship, the bridge of the Starlight Wanderer was small but efficient, designed to be operated by a single person. Lisa settled into the pilot's chair while Violet stood awkwardly by the entrance, clearly unsure of her place. "You can sit there." Lisa pointed to the co-pilot's seat. "No one uses it anyway, it's just me on this ship." Violet moved carefully to the seat, studying it before sitting down, her tail hanging through the gap between the back and seat. Lisa turned to face her new passenger. "So tell me more about these slave traders. Where were they taking you?" Violet seemed to struggle with the words market on Ganymede. She finally managed many buyers for new species. Lisa grimaced. Ganymede, Jupiter's largest moon, had become a hub for both legal and illegal trade in the solar system, despite the United Earth government's attempts to regulate activities there. "Do you have family looking for you?" Lisa asked softly. Violet's eyes dimmed noticeably. "All gone," she said. "Raid took young ones, killed elders." Lisa felt her heart break for this creature who had lost everything and still found the courage to escape her captors. "And I'm sorry, Violet," Lisa said sincerely. "I know what it's like to lose family. I left Earth after my parents died in the Martian colony." "Collapse." Violet reached out hesitantly, one scaled hand hovering above Lisa's arm before gently touching it in what was clearly meant as a gesture of comfort. Lisa found herself smiling despite the painful memories. They had something in common, both alone in the vastness of space. "I'm hungry," Violet said suddenly, her tail perking up slightly. "You have food?" Lisa laughed, breaking the somber mood. "Come on, let's see what we can find in the galley over the next few days." Lisa learned that Violet had an enormous appetite, apparently. Saurine metabolism ran much faster than humans, requiring frequent meals to maintain energy. She also discovered that Violet was fascinated by human music, especially classical pieces that featured string instruments. For her part, Violet showed Lisa how Zarine communicated through tail positions and subtle scale color changes a complex nonverbal language that complemented their spoken one. She demonstrated hunting stances and explained that before contact with other species, the Zerreen were primarily forest dwellers using their climbing abilities and camouflage to hunt and avoid predators. Lisa found Violet to be intelligent, curious, and surprisingly adaptable to life aboard a human vessel. She quickly learned the ship systems and offered insights on improving efficiency in ways Lisa hadn't considered. One night as they shared a meal in the galley, Violet suddenly asked Lisa where we go. Delta Station Outer Rim. Lisa explained routine supply drop. Nothing special. Violet's scales darkened slightly, and what Lisa was learning indicated concern. Slavers might be there, she said. Lisa hadn't considered that they might run into the very people Violet had escaped from. Don't worry, she said, trying to sound more confident than she felt. Delta Station is huge and I'm hardly on the main docking bays. My clearance puts us on the civilian commercial side. Far from where those types would be. Violet didn't look convinced, but she nodded, her tail curling around her leg in what Lisa now recognized as a self-soothing gesture. I'll protect you, Lisa added impulsively. You're part of my crew now. Violet's eyes widened, her scales shifting to a brighter shade. Crew. She repeated the word as if testing it. Yeah, crew, Lisa confirmed with a smile. Just you and me against the universe. The smile Violet gave in return made Lisa realize how important it was to have someone to care about again, even if that someone had scales and a tail. That night Lisa found Violet curled up asleep in the co-pilot seat, her tail swishing contentedly. Even in sleep she looked peaceful. They're much different from the frightened creature in the cargo hold. Lisa quietly draped a blanket over her new friend, smiling at how quickly Violet had become part of her crew of two. As Lisa plotted their course to Delta Station, she made a silent promise to herself she would keep Violet safe no matter what. What Lisa didn't know was that their arrival at Delta Station would be far from routine, and that her promise would be tested sooner than she expected. Delta Station loomed ahead, a massive structure of interconnected rings and spokes rotating slowly against the backdrop of stars. It was one of the busier trading hubs in the Outer Rim, a place where all species mingled and commerce flowed freely, both legal and otherwise. Lisa guided the Starlight Wanderer toward their assigned docking bay, keeping to the outer commercial ring as promised. Violet stood behind her, watching the approaching station with visible tension, her tail completely still. A sign Lisa had learned meant she was on high alert. We're going to be fine, Lisa assured her, looking back briefly. You don't even have to leave the ship if you don't want. Violet shook her head. Need to see, she said, her English improving daily. Need to know if they hear. Lisa understood the need to face your fears rather than hide from them. She admired Violet's courage. The docking procedure went smoothly, and Lisa secured the ship before turning to Violet, who was now wearing a hooded cloak that Lisa had modified to accommodate her tail. You ready? Lisa asked. Violet nodded, pulling the hood forward to partially obscure her face. Ready, she confirmed. They disembarked together, Violet staying close to Lisa as they navigated the bustling corridors of Delta Station's commercial sector. The station was a riot of sights, sounds, and smells, with vendors from a dozen different species hawking their wares along the main thoroughfare. Lisa kept a protective hand near Violet, gently guiding her through the crowd. She noticed how Violet seemed to shrink into herself, trying to appear smaller, less noticeable despite her height. They made their way to the supply office, where Lisa needed to confirm delivery details and receive payment for her last cargo run. Wait here, Lisa told Violet, gesturing to a small seating area outside the office. I'll just be a minute. Violet nodded, settling into a seat, her eyes constantly scanning the passing crowds. Inside the office, Lisa was greeted by Stan, the station's aging logistics coordinator, who's been handling shipments longer than she'd been alive. Lisa Morgan. He grinned, showing stained teeth from years of smoking unregulated tobacco products. Haven't seen you in months. Girl, business is business, Stan, Lisa replied. With a friendly smile. How's my account looking? Stan checked his terminal. Your payment for the medicinal supplies to Haven Point has been processed. No issues there, he said. And I see you're scheduled for a pickup of agricultural equipment bound for New Terra Colony. Lisa nodded. That was the plan. Stan leaned forward, lowering his voice a bit. Watch yourself out there, girl. We've had reports of increased slaver activity in the sector between here and New Terra. Lisa's heart skipped a beat. Slavers, she asked, trying to keep her voice casual. Yeah, nasty business, Stan shook his head. They hit a transport last week, took the crew and passengers' word as they're targeting smaller vessels with minimal security. Thanks for the heads up, Lisa said, her mind racing to Violet waiting outside. I'll be careful. When Lisa emerged from the office, her blood ran cold. Violet was gone. Lisa scanned the seating area and surrounding corridor. No sign of her Zareen friend. Panic rose in her chest. Had Violet simply wandered off, or had something worse happened, Lisa? She heard a soft trill from behind a decorative plant station. Violet was crouched there, her eyes wide with fear. They hear, she whispered. Who? Lisa asked. Kneeling beside her. The slavers. Violet nodded. 2 men. By food stall, she explained. Humans who took me, they not see me. Yet Lisa peered carefully in the direction Violet indicated. Sure enough, 2 rough-looking men stood near a food vendor, their posture and attire marking them as the type who lived on the fringes of society. One had a distinctive scar running down his cheek. We need to get back to the ship, Lisa whispered. Stay behind me. Keep your hood up and your head down. They moved as casually as possible. Lisa, positioning herself between Violet and the men at all times, her heart pounding in her ears. They were halfway to the docking bay when the scarred man happened to look in their direction. His eyes narrowed as they passed, and Lisa feared he might have recognized something about Violet. Despite the cloak, "Hey, you," the man called out. Lisa kept walking, pretending not to hear. Pulling Violet along faster. You in the cloak, the man shouted louder. Stop right there. Lisa abandoned pretense, grabbing Violet's hand. They ran, pushing through the crowd behind them. She heard curses and the sound of pursuit. This way, Lisa hissed, pulling Violet down a service corridor she had used during previous visits to the station. The narrow passage would lead them to the maintenance level, and from there, they could circle back to their docking bay. They ran through dimly lit corridors, the sounds of pursuit growing fainter behind them. Violet was surprisingly fast, her natural agility allowing her to keep pace with Lisa without difficulty. They emerged into a quiet section near the outer hull. Lisa paused, listening for any sign of pursuit. All clear, she whispered. Let's double back to the shippas. They turned the corner. They nearly collided with the scarred man. He must have guessed their route and cut them off. Well. He grinned, revealing several metal teeth. What do we have here? Lisa pushed Violet behind her. These are restricted corridors, she said, trying to sound authoritative. Security will be here any minute. The man laughed. Station security doesn't patrol these areas much, he said. Then his eyes narrowed on Violet. Who's your friend with the tail? Violet hissed from behind Lisa, the sound startlingly fierce compared to her usually gentle trills. The man's eyes widened in recognition. It's the Zareen bitch, he growled, the one that escaped on Delta 9. Lisa felt Violet trembling behind her, but she also sensed a new tension in her friend's body. Not just fear, but readiness. The man reached for something at his belt. Definitely a weapon, Lisa acted on instinct. Lunging forward, she drove her knee into his groin with all her strength. He doubled over with a grunt of pain, and Lisa followed with an elbow to the back of his head, sending him sprawling. Run, she shouted to Violet. They sprinted through the corridors, no longer caring about staying hidden. They needed to reach the ship before the other slaver found them, or before this one recovered. They burst into the main corridor near their docking bay. Lisa could see the Starlight Wanderer just ahead, but standing between them and safety was the second slaver, his hand already drawing a weapon. Violet moved with shocking speed, darting past Lisa, her cloak falling away as she leapt at the man, her natural predatory abilities on full display. Her claws extended as she slashed at his weapon hand. The man screamed as Violet's claws tore through flesh and the weapon clattered to the floor. Lisa scooped it up as she ran past, pointing it at the injured man. Stay back, she warned as Violet rejoined her side. They backed toward the ship, Lisa keeping the weapon trained on the slaver who was now cradling his bleeding hand and cursing. Once aboard, Lisa slammed her hand on the door control, sealing the ship, then rushed to the cockpit with Violet right behind her. Undocking procedures should take several minutes, but Lisa overrode safety protocols. The Starlight Wanderer pulled away from Delta Station with alarms blaring in protest, emergency thrusters firing. Lisa muttered as she piloted them Away from the station, hang on, Violet gripped her seat. Her tail wrapped tightly around one leg as the ship shuddered under the strain of rapid acceleration once they were safely away from the station. Lisa set a course that would take them in the opposite direction from their planned route. We can't go to New Terra now, she said. It's too risky. Violet watched her with those luminous eyes. You saved me, she said again. Lisa shrugged with a half smile. You saved me too back there. Those were some impressive moves. Violet's scales rippled with color in what Lisa now recognized as embarrassment. Zareen hunters, she explained simply. They sat in silence for a moment, the adrenaline of their escape fading. Where we go now? Violet finally asked. Lisa considered their options. They needed somewhere safe, somewhere those slavers wouldn't look for them. I know a place, Lisa said suddenly, a small mining colony on a moon called Haven. It's off the main trade routes, mostly independent miners and their families. They don't ask many questions. Violet tilted her head as far. Lisa nodded. But worth it. I have a friend there, Katie. She runs the local supply depot. Shall help us lay low for a while. As Lisa adjusted their course, she noticed Violet watching her intently. What? She asked. You risk much for me? Violet said, her voice soft. Why? Lisa hadn't really examined her motivations until that moment. Why had she risked everything for someone she barely knew? I guess because it's the right thing to do, Lisa finally said, but also she smiled. Because you're my friend. My crew. Violet's tail began to swish happily against the seat. Yes, she agreed. Crew as the Starlight Wanderer accelerated toward their new destination. Lisa realized that her life had become infinitely more complicated since finding Violet in her cargo hold, but somehow it also felt more meaningful. What she didn't know was that their encounter with the slavers on Delta Station was just the beginning, and that the bond between them would be tested in ways neither could imagine. The journey to Haven took 8 days through less traveled space routes. Lisa used every trick she knew to avoid detection, even shutting down non-essential systems twice when long-range scanners detected ships matching known slaver vessel configurations. During those tense hours of drifting silent in space, Violet proved her worth, showing Lisa how Zareen could enter a state of semi-consciousness that required minimal oxygen and produced almost no heat signature, making her virtually undetectable to thermal scanners. Lisa, we die here? Violet asked during one such blackout period, her voice barely audible in the darkness of the bridge. No, Lisa whispered back, we're just hiding. They'll pass us by without seeing us. Violet was silent for a moment. I trust you, she finally said, the simple statement warming Lisa more than the emergency heating blanket they shared. They reached Haven without further incident, the small mining moon orbiting a gas giant in a system rarely visited by major trading vessels. The settlement was little more than a collection of prefabricated structures and converted mining facilities nestled in a shallow crater. Lisa sent an encrypted message ahead to her friend Katie, who met them at the small landing pad, her red hair visible even from the cockpit. Don't mention anything about the slavers to anyone, Lisa cautioned Violet as they prepared to disembark. Just follow my lead. Violet nodded, adjusting her cloak, which had become her standard attire when leaving the ship. Katie Davidson had been a supply runner like Lisa before settling on Haven to manage their depot. She was tough, practical, and completely trustworthy. Lisa had once helped her escape an abusive relationship back on Mars, and Katie had never forgotten it. Lisa Morgan. Katie grinned, pulling her into a hug as they stepped onto the landing pad. It's been, 2 years? Something like that. Lisa smiled, returned the embrace. It's good to see you. Katie's eyes moved to Violet, taking in the cloaked figure with obvious curiosity. And who's your friend this is? Violet. Lisa said, she's my new crew member. Katie raised an eyebrow. You've never taken on crew before? Violet's not exactly typical crew, Lisa admitted. I found her stowed away on my ship and we've been working together ever since. Violet lowered her hood slightly, revealing her scaled face and luminous eyes to Katie. Holy, Katie's eyes widened. You're Zareen. I've only seen your kind in news feeds. She extended her hand in greeting. Welcome to Haven. Violet looked at the offered hand, then carefully took it, mimicking the human handshake Lisa had taught her. Greetings, Katie Davidson, she said, her English noticeably improved after weeks with Lisa. Let's get you both inside, Katie said, leading them toward the settlement. Main dome weather system predicts a dust storm tonight. You're lucky you landed when you did. Katie's quarters were attached to the supply depot. A cozy space filled with items collected from her years of trading. Lisa had always admired Katie's ability to make any space feel like home, once they were settled with hot drinks. Katie fixed Lisa with a serious look. So what's really going on? I know you didn't come all this way just to say hello. Lisa sighed. Katie had always been perceptive we're in trouble, she admitted before explaining about finding Violet escaping the slavers on Delta Station and their current predicament. Katie whistled low. Those guys don't give up easily, especially if they've invested in acquiring rare species. She looked at Violet, with new understanding. How many of your kind have they taken? Violet asked. Violet's scales darkened with distress. Many from my village, perhaps more from others. Contact with humans still new. For us, Katie turned back to Lisa. What do you need from Mia? Place to lay low? Lisa said somewhere to hide the ship while I figure out our next move. Katie nodded. Consider it done. There's an abandoned mining tunnel big enough for the Starlight Wanderer about 2 clicks north of here. Used to be for emergency repairs during dust storms. Nobody uses it now. Lisa felt some of the tension leave her shoulders. Thanks, Katie. I owe you. Katie waved her off. We're even. Remember, she smiled, then grew serious again. But you'll need more than a hiding place. These slavers, they sound organized. They might have contacts here, even in a small place like Haven. Violet's tail twitched anxiously beneath her cloak. Nowhere's safe, she asked. There are safe places, Katie assured her. But you might need to consider a more permanent solution than just running and hiding. Like what Lisa asked. Katie hesitated, then said, maybe take this to the authorities. The United Earth government has been cracking down on slavery, especially since first contact with new species like the Czarine. Lisa shook her head. The authorities move too slow, and half the time they're corrupted by bribes, especially in the outer systems. Then what? Violet asked her, large eyes fixed on Lisa. Lisa didn't have an answer yet, but she knew they couldn't keep running forever. Eventually their luck would run out. They spent the night at Katie's. Violet curled up in her now familiar sleeping position, her tail occasionally twitching as she dreamed. Lisa wondered what Czarine dreams were like. Did they dream of their homeworld? Of the families they had lost? The next morning, Katie helped them move the Starlight Wanderer to the abandoned mining tunnel. It was a perfect hiding spot, dark and shielded from scans by the naturally occurring minerals in the tunnel walls. While inspecting the ship for any tracking devices that might have been placed on Delta Station, Violet made a discovery that changed everything. Lisa, Katie called from the cargo hold. You need to see this. Lisa found. Violet crouched beside an unmarked crate, one she didn't recognize as part of her cargo. Not mine, Lisa said, frowning. Who put this here? Violet's scales had paled almost white with anger. She pointed to a small symbol etched into the metal slaver's mark. She hissed. Katie examined the crate without touching it. They tagged your ship, she said grimly. That's how they've been tracking you. Lisa felt cold dread in her stomach. Is it transmitting now? Katie pulled out a scanner from her tool belt, running it over the crate. No, it's passive, probably activated. At checkpoints or when it passes near their ships. Clever bastards. We need to destroy it, Violet said, her tail lashing with agitation. Wait, Lisa held up a hand, a plan forming in her mind. What if we use it? How? Katie asked. As bait, Lisa explained. We know they're looking for us, specifically for Violet. What if we make them think they found us? Violet looked uncertain. What you mean? Lisa knelt by the crate. This is our chance to stop running and start fighting back. She said, these slavers, they won't stop coming after you, and they'll keep taking others from your world unless someone stops them. I tracked them back to base. Katie realized, seeing where Lisa was going, set a trap. Exactly. Lisa nodded. But first we need to know more about what we're dealing with, who they are, how many ships they have. Katie pulled out her tablet. I know someone in station security back on Delta could get us that information. Discreetly, Lisa turned to Violet. I won't make this decision for you, she said. This is your fight too. What do you want to do? Violet was silent for a long moment, her scales shifting through several colors as she considered. Then she straightened to her full-height, tail held high in what Lisa now recognized as a Czarine posture of determination. Fight, she said simply. They take my family. My people, I want stop them. Lisa felt a surge of pride for her friend. The frightened stowaway she'd found weeks ago was now a determined warrior ready to face her captors. For the next 3 days they planned. Carefully, Katie's contact on Delta Station provided valuable intelligence about the slaver operation. They were dealing with a group calling themselves the Crimson Hand, specializing in rare and exotic species. Their main vessel was a modified freighter, called the Black Harvest, with several smaller ships for capture operations. They were ruthless, efficient, and had evaded authorities for years by operating in the gaps between jurisdictions, never staying in one place long enough to be caught. We can't take on a whole slaver organization, Katie warned as they finalized their plan. We don't need to, Lisa replied. We just need to hit them hard enough to make them back off and get evidence to the authorities. Their plan was dangerous but simple. They would plant the tracking crate on an automated drone freighter heading toward a remote asteroid field, then lie in wait when the slavers arrived, expecting to find the Starlight Wanderer and recapture Violet. They would instead find themselves ambushed. Katie would contact her friend in security the moment the trap was sprung, ensuring that official forces would arrive in time to make arrests the night before they were to put their plan in motion. Lisa found Violet standing in the cargo hold, staring at the slaver crate, her tail completely still. You okay? Lisa asked softly. Violet turned scales reflecting the dim light, afraid, she admitted, but not like before now. Afraid for you? Lisa stepped closer. What do you mean? You risk life for me, Violet said, already at Delta now again. Why? Lisa thought about it carefully before answering. When I found you, I thought I was helping you, she said. But the truth is you helped me too. Violet's head tilted in question. I was alone, Lisa explained. Just me and the stars. I told myself that was enough, that I didn't need anyone else, but I was wrong. She smiled. Everyone needs connection, even stubborn cargo runners. Violet's scales brightened slightly. Zareen believe. Connection is sacred, she said. Family pack. Bond stronger than self. Lisa nodded. Feeling the truth of that humans aren't so different, Violet reached out one scaled hand to touch Lisa's arm. Gently, we are pack now, she said simply. Dawn broke over Haven with swirling dust clouds painting the sky in shades of amber and gold. Lisa, Violet, and Katie made final preparations for their mission, each focused on their assigned tasks. Katie had arranged for the tracking crate to be loaded onto an automated freighter scheduled to pass through the asteroid field. That afternoon, she had also prepared a small scout ship borrowed from a local miner friend, equipped with enhanced sensor arrays and minimal weapons. The plan was for Lisa and Violet to take the scout ship and observe from hiding while Katie coordinated with her security contact on Delta. The moment the slavers took the bait, Katie would send the signal, and Lisa would gather evidence recording the slavers in action. Before retreating to safety, it's not much in terms of firepower, Katie said as they inspected the scout ship. Just a mining laser for breaking up smaller asteroids. But it should be enough to disable a shuttle if you need. Lisa checked the controls, familiarizing herself with the layout. How long will it take security forces to respond after your signal? Katie frowned. About 40 minutes if they push their engines. That's the best we can hope for. 40 minutes. Lisa repeated. That's a long time. If things go wrong, Violet, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. We not need fight, just watch record, she reminded them. You're right, Lisa agreed, turning to her friend. The plan is observation only. We stay hidden. We get the evidence, and we get out. No heroics. Violet's tail swished in acknowledgement. Her cloak set aside within the privacy of the mining tunnel, revealing her full Zareen appearance. Her scales gleaming in the artificial light as they made final preparations. Katie pulled Lisa aside, her expression serious. Are you sure about this? She asked in a low voice. These slavers aren't amateurs. Lisa glanced at Violet, who was loading supplies into the scout ship. I'm sure, she said, they won't stop coming for her unless we do something, and I can't just hand her over to Earth authorities either. Who knows what would happen to her? Katie studied her friend with knowing eyes. You've really come to care about her? Haven't you? Lisa didn't deny it. She's the most loyal, intelligent being I've met, human or otherwise, and she deserves better than spending her life running. Katie squeezed Lisa's shoulder. Just be careful. Okay, the galaxy would be a darker place without Lisa Morgan in it. The scout ship was ready by midday. Lisa took the pilot's seat, with Violet beside her in the co-pilot position. They had modified the seat to accommodate her tail, a small detail that made Violet visibly pleased. Katie stood at the tunnel's entrance as they prepared for takeoff. Monitor communications from here, she said, and I'll have the Starlight Wanderer ready for a quick exit if needed. Lisa nodded in acknowledgement, powering up the Scout's engines. Well, see you soon, she promised, and then they were off, rising through Haven's thin atmosphere and setting course for the asteroid field. The scout ship was smaller than the Starlight Wanderer, more maneuverable but also more vulnerable. Lisa felt exposed without the familiar protection of her own vessels. They reached the asteroid field with hours to spare, carefully navigating to a hiding spot behind a larger rock formation that offered both concealment and a clear view of the automated freighters. Projected path, now we wait, Lisa said, settling in for their surveillance mission. The automated freighter appeared right on schedule, a bulky utilitarian vessel plodding along its programmed route with the tracking crate secured in its hold. According to plan, it would pass through the field, then continue to its destination, none the wiser about the drama about to unfold in its wake. The waiting was the hardest part. Lisa checked and rechecked their sensors while Violet remained eerily still in her seat, only her eyes moving as she scanned the viewport, her predatory instincts clearly engaged. 4 hours passed with no sign of the slavers. Maybe they're not coming. Violet finally said, her voice hopefully, so check the communications array one more time. No signal from Katie yet. So the tracking crate hasn't been activated. They might be waiting for the freighter to reach a more isolated location. As if summoned by her words, the sensors pinged with an alert. A ship had entered the far side of the asteroid field, moving with purpose, not following standard shipping lanes. That's them, Lisa whispered, activating the ship's passive scanning systems. The vessel that appeared was smaller than she'd expected. Not the main slaver ship, but rather what appeared to be a heavily modified shuttle designed for quick strikes and fast retreats. There, sending a boarding party, Lisa realized, watching as the shuttle matched course with the automated freighter. They don't want to risk their main vessel. Violet's scales darkened with tension, her tail completely still as they watched the shuttle extend. A docking tube to the freighter. Lisa activated the recording systems, capturing every detail as several figures in environmental suits crossed from the shuttle to the freighter. How many? Violet asked, her voice barely audible. Lisa zoomed in the external cameras. I count 5 boarding the freighter, she reported, probably looking for the Starlight Wanderer. And you? Violet hissed softly, claws extending involuntarily, then retracting as she controlled her reaction. They watched as the boarding party spent nearly 20 minutes inside the freighter, then emerged clearly agitated even from a distance. Their body language conveyed frustration. They're figuring out they've been tricked, Lisa said. They'll report back to their main vessel. But instead of returning to wherever they came from, the shuttle detached from the freighter and began a systematic sweep of the asteroid field. They're searching for us. Lisa realized with alarm. They must suspect we're nearby. Violet's eyes widened. We should go? She urged. Lisa shook her head. Not yet. We need to confirm this is definitely the slaver group and get clear identification of their vessel for the authorities. The shuttle continued its search pattern, moving closer to their hiding place. With each pass, Lisa powered down all non-essential systems, hoping to minimize their signature. Just when it seemed they might escape detection, a dust cloud from Haven's recent storm drifted through the asteroid field, the fine particles revealing the Scout's outline as they refracted the light from the system's distant sun. The shuttle changed course immediately, heading straight for their position. They've spotted us, Lisa said, her hands flying over the controls. Katie, we need that backup now. She called into the communicator. Katie's voice came back crackling with interference signal. Sent security forces launching, but they'll still need time. How much time? Violet asked as Lisa fired up the Scout's engines. Much, Lisa grimaced. We need to evade until help arrives. She piloted the Scout deeper into the asteroid field, using the natural maze of rocks and ice to shield them from the pursuing shuttle. The Scout was more maneuverable, but the slaver vessel was faster and better armored. Warning shot blazed past their viewport. The shuttle was now close enough to fire. Lisa pushed the Scout into a tight turn around a spinning asteroid, using its rotation as cover. Can't outrun them, she muttered. Need to outsmart them. Violet watched the sensor display with intense focus. There, she pointed to a dense cluster of smaller asteroids, many small rocks too small for them. Lisa understood immediately and changed course toward the cluster. The slaver's shuttle was larger than their scout, which meant they can't follow us through there. She grinned as she guided their vessel into the narrow spaces between tumbling rocks. The shuttle fired again this time, striking a glancing blow to their rear shield. The scout shuddered under the impact, shield at 60%. The computer announced. Calmly, Lisa weaved through the asteroid cluster, pushing the scout's capabilities to their limit behind them. The shuttle was forced to go around the cluster, buying them precious minutes. "We make it?" Violet asked, her voice steady despite the danger. Lisa checked their position. "Not yet. We still need to evade for at least 30 more minutes before help arrives." Suddenly, Violet stiffened, her scales rippling with alarm. "Look." She pointed to their long-range scanner. Lisa's heart sank. A larger vessel had appeared at the edge of the asteroid field. The Black Harvest. The main slaver ship had arrived. "We in trouble now?" Violet stated the obvious. Lisa's mind raced. They couldn't outrun both vessels, and they couldn't hide forever in the asteroid field. Not with the Black Harvest's advanced sensors. They needed a new plant. A mining laser. Katie said it's not much, but it's something. Lisa guided the scout toward a particularly large asteroid, positioning them behind it. Then she turned to Violet. "I need you to take the controls." Violet's eyes widened. "I not know how you've watched me enough," Lisa said quickly, transferring control to the co-pilot station. "Just keep us behind this asteroid while I operate the mining laser." Violet hesitated, then placed her scaled hands on the controls, her natural dexterity allowing her to quickly adapt to the unfamiliar task. Lisa moved to the mining station, activating the laser. "It's not designed as a weapon," she explained, "but it can destabilize that asteroid." Violet understood immediately, her quick mind grasping Lisa's plan without further explanation. Lisa carefully calibrated the mining laser, aiming at a fault line in the massive rock. The shuttle was approaching from one side while the Black Harvest moved in from the other, effectively boxing them in now. Lisa shouted, firing the laser at full power. The beam struck the asteroid precisely where Lisa had aimed, creating a chain reaction of fractures across its surface. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the massive rock began to break apart, fragments spinning in all directions. 6 months after the events in the asteroid field, Lisa and Violet sat in a conference room on Earth Colony Prime. The administrative heart of human expansion into the stars around them sat officials from both human and Zarine governments, their expressions serious as they reviewed documents on their tablets. Ambassador Trill, a distinguished Zarine with silver-edged scales, addressed the room, her translator converting her natural clicks and trills into smooth English. "The evidence provided by Captain Morgan and First Officer Violet has been instrumental in dismantling 3 major slaver operations in the outer systems," she said. "We owe them a debt of gratitude." Lisa shifted uncomfortably in her formal uniform, still unused to being called captain. Despite the official commission she'd been granted by the United Earth government 3 months ago, beside her, Violet sat tall and proud. Her own uniform, modified to accommodate her tail. Adrian Blake, the human colonial administrator, nodded in agreement. "The information recovered from the Black Harvest led us to their entire network," he said. "Nearly 200 Zarine captives have been freed and returned to their homeworld." Violet's tail swished slightly against her chair leg, the only outward sign of her emotion. Lisa had learned to read these subtle movements as clearly as facial expressions. The meeting continued for another hour, discussing increased security measures for Zarine territories and new protocols for ships traveling through contested space. Finally, it concluded with handshakes and formal statements of cooperation. As they left the conference room, Lisa exhaled heavily. "I hate these official functions," she muttered to Violet. "Give me an open cargo hold any day." Violet's scales rippled with amusement. "Ceremony important," she said. "Humans and Zarine working together. New thing must have rules, structure." Lisa smiled at her friend. "You sound like a diplomat yourself now." Violet tilted her head, considering. "I learned many things since hiding in your cargo hold." They walked through the gleaming corridors of the Colonial Administration building toward the spaceport where the Starlight Wanderer waited. The ship had undergone significant upgrades, courtesy of both governments, now serving as a small but effective patrol vessel for the border regions between human and Zarine space. In the 6 months since their confrontation with the slavers, much had changed. Violet had been officially recognized as a political refugee and granted citizenship status in human territories, a first for her species. She had also been appointed as cultural liaison between humans and Zareen, her unique position as both victim and hero, making her ideal for the role. Lisa had initially resisted the offer of a commission, preferring her independence as a trader. But the opportunity to make a real difference in protecting vulnerable communities had eventually won her over. Plus, she had to admit the new weapon systems on the Starlight Wanderer were impressive. They reached the spaceport plaza, a vast open area where various vessels were docked in neat rows. The Starlight Wanderer now bore official markings on its hull, though Lisa had insisted on keeping the original name. Home, Violet said simply as they approached the ship. Lisa nodded. It still felt strange sometimes to have an official crew. Now 6 beings, including themselves, a mix of humans and non-humans, all dedicated to patrolling the borders and protecting vulnerable ships. Captain on deck called Ben their security officer as Lisa and Violet boarded the ship, his formal stance immediately dissolving into a grin as the door sealed behind them. "How was the meeting?" "Boss is boring as expected," Lisa replied, tugging off her formal jacket, glad to be back in the familiar confines of her ship, everyone ready for departure. "Marina." Their navigator nodded from her station course, plotted for the Rigel outpost as ordered. "Captain, just waiting for final clearance." Lisa settled into the captain's chair, Violet taking her customary position beside her. It still amazed Lisa how quickly they had adapted to their new roles. How natural it felt to work together. "Launch clearance received," Marina announced. "Systems green. Across the board, take us out." Lisa ordered, watching as the spaceport fell away beneath them, the colony growing smaller until it was just another point of light among the stars. Since they were safely in deep space, Lisa set the ship on autopilot and turned to Violet. "So, liaison officer," she said, using Violet's formal title, "how does it feel to be a symbol of interspecies cooperation?" Violet considered the question, her tail swishing thoughtfully. "Strange," she finally said. "When I hide on ship, I only want freedom, not to be important." Lisa understood that feeling all too well. She had never sought to be anything more than a cargo runner with her own ship and the stars to guide her. Now she was Captain Morgan, defender of the border worlds. Ben interrupted their conversation from the communications station. "Captain, there's a message coming in from Zareen High Command for Officer Violet." Violet straightened her scales, brightening with interest. "Put it through," she said. The screen lit up with the image of a Zareen elder. His scales a deep blue with age. "The sacred sites on your homeworld have been fully restored," he said in their native language, the translator converting for the benefit of the human crew. "Your family memorial stands at the center. Young one, you have honored them." Lisa saw Violet's tail go completely still, a sign of deep emotion. "Thank you, Elder," she replied softly. "I will visit when duty permits." The Elder nodded and the transmission ended. Violet sat silently for a moment, lost in thoughts of her homeworld and the family she'd lost. Lisa gave her the space she needed, knowing that grief had its own timeline. Finally, Violet turned to Lisa. "They remember," she said simply. "They not forgotten." Lisa reached over to squeeze her friend's scaled hand gently. "No one who matters is ever truly forgotten," she said. That night, after the crew had settled into their rest cycles, Lisa found Violet in the observation lounge, staring out at the stars, her tail swishing contentedly against the cushioned bench. "Mind if I join you?" Lisa asked. Violet shifted, making room. "Please sit." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Two beings from different worlds united by circumstance and choice. "Do you ever regret it?" Lisa finally asked, "Finding me on your ship, all that came after?" Violet turned, her luminous eyes reflecting the starlight. "No," she said without hesitation. "Lost family, found new one." Her tail gestured to encompass the ship, and by extension, its crew pack is strength. Lisa smiled at the Zareen concept that had become central to their shared philosophy. "Pack is strength," she agreed. Their conversation was interrupted by a priority alert from the bridge. Captain Marina's voice came through the intercom. "We've picked up a distress signal from a small vessel under attack. Coordinates coming through. No. Duty calls," Lisa said, rising to her feet. Violet moving in perfect sync beside her as they rushed to the bridge. Lisa felt a familiar surge of purpose. This was their life now, protecting those who couldn't protect themselves, ensuring that what happened to Violet and her people wouldn't happen to others. The Starlight Wanderer changed course, accelerating toward the coordinates of the distress call, its weapons systems coming online. Marina reported that the vessel under attack was a small scientific ship carrying researchers from 3 different species. Pirates. Most likely, Ben suggested, checking the tactical display, 2 vessels surrounding the science ship. Classic ambush. Pattern. Lisa nodded to Violet. Engage defensive protocol. She ordered all crew to battle stations. Violet efficiently relayed the commands, her tail now perfectly still in her focused state, the crew responding with well-trained precision as they approached. The confrontation. Lisa felt a moment of clarity. This was where she belonged, not just wandering the stars but making them safer. Her unlikely friendship with a stowaway alien had led her to a purpose she'd never imagined. Captain, the science vessel is hailing us, Marina reported. Put them through, Lisa said. The screen displayed a terrified human scientist. Thank the stars you've come, she gasped. They've threatened to board us. We've got Zareen researchers aboard. They seem to be targeting them specifically. Lisa exchanged a glance with Violet. Their suspicions confirmed the slavers might have been dealt a blow, but others were eager to take their place. Tell them help has arrived. Lisa assured the scientist we're coming in hot. She turned to her crew, confident in their abilities and their purpose. This is what the Starlight Wanderer was meant for. This is what they were meant for. Violet stood tall beside her captain, her scales gleaming with determination, her tail now held in the Zareen posture of readiness that Lisa had come to recognize as her battle stances. 6 months ago, Violet had been a frightened stowaway, and Lisa a solitary cargo runner. Now they were defenders, protectors, a family forged in the cold of space and the heat of battle. As the Starlight Wanderer moved to intercept the pirate vessels, Lisa felt Violet's presence beside her. Steady and sure, their unlikely partnership had changed not just their lives, but potentially the relationship between their species for generations to come, all because Lisa had given a frightened alien a nickname and Violet had chosen to sleep on her shiptail, swishing happily as they traveled among the stars together. No longer alone, no longer adrift, they had found in each other what each had lost: a sense of belonging, a purpose, and most importantly, a family. The stars spread out before them, endless possibilities in the vast darkness, and now they faced that darkness together. Pack is strength, Violet had said, and Lisa knew it was true. Whatever challenges awaited them in the depths of space, they would face them together. Captain and First Officer Human and Zareen, friends who had become family against all odds.